And welcome back, everyone, to Box Office Report. Today, on the 30th of March, 2025. Did not get this one right, folks. Oh, wow, did I not get this one right. So, Working Man comes in at number one with 15.2 million for the number one spot. Snow White drops 66.4%, only making 14.2 in its second week. The Chosen Last Supper re-release made 11.4 million. Woman in the Yard made debut with 9.4 million, and Death of a Unicorn rounds out the top 5 with 5.7 million. Oddly enough, this makes this a slightly better week at the box office than last week because Snow White. Actually, I can literally just. I don't have to do that. I can literally just. What's that? Where was last week? Week because last week it was 42, but then it was like it barely scraped over 50 million, got to 60 overall. Here, though, if we look at like the overall, if we just add things up real quick for the top, let's say 12, because that's where the millions are. You go from there to there, that's 29. There to there, that's basically 29, 40 point, almost 41. That then rounds it up to 50. That makes it 59-ish, roughly speaking. 60. So we're already doing better this week than we did last week. But okay, Working Man debuts at 15.2 million. Now, it's actually made on a little more money than The Beekeeper was. Beekeeper, I believe, was 30 million. This is about 40 million. Its its production budget, its marketing budget, most likely in the range of about 20 million. So you're looking at a film that's at about 90-ish million to break even. If it can do that, I think they'll be satisfied. Domestically speaking, I mean, 15 is not a great opening weekend, but it's far from the worst opening weekend. This does have the advantage of waiting until The Accountant 2 and Sinners come out, because those would be the next relatively comparable films for it. Nothing is exactly this film. Accountant is probably the closer of the two, but Sinners will still have action in it. But it does open internationally with 30 million to start with. I'm not exactly sure how this will play overall, but it's the second best reviewed film that came out this week of the big three: Death of a Unicorn, Woman in the Yard, and Working Man. It's still not the best. It's got the best audience score at 90%. And people like Jason Statham. We've seen that. And like he can still pull in a crowd when he wants to. Right, when they make a decent enough movie. Is this a decent enough movie to get to the 90 million I think it needs to hit to make its money back? Does it have essentially 60 million in it? It's a good question. It's just too early to say. Those are the kind of questions you have to ask after the second week. As it stands right now, I would say probably not. I don't think, unless the international really comes through. Like next week, we get another 15 some odd million international. Then maybe we could actually have a conversation on that. But let's see where it's at. If it could maybe be somewhere above 50 million next week, I would still hold out hope that we could get it to that point. But look, I enjoyed the film. I'm surprised at 15 million. It's at number one due to the fact that Snow White, even if it had dropped 60%, like I thought it was going to, would still have been number one and been in the high teens, low 20s. As it stands, though, that wasn't the case. It dropped 66.4%. Worldwide, it stands at $143 million against a minimum 205 budget. This is another bomb for Disney. Now, this right here, we often talk about flops and bombs and successes. And we oftentimes use the term flop and bomb interchangeably. But I think they do have two different meanings. A flop is less damaging, I think, in terms of just a word than a bomb. A bomb means an explosion went off and there was just destruction and death everywhere. A flop just means something wasn't able to stand at attention. Flop. When I think of a flop usually means one of two things to me, or one of the three, because there's the way the audience responded to it, the critics responded to it, and then how the money responded to it. Because sometimes audiences don't like something, it still makes money. It doesn't happen a lot, but it still makes money. A flop is something where I think the audience liked it, but it didn't, and maybe the critics liked it, and it just didn't make a huge amount of money. Unfortunately, like it didn't live up to that expectation. That would be a flop. Or the audience like it, and the critics hate it, and it barely makes its money back. So that would be underperforming, a flop. A bomb is when at minimum two of those requirements are met, where one thing didn't work and the other didn't work. But no matter what one of those things is, it has to be the box office. One of those things has to be the box office. And sometimes it's a trifecta. The audience, critics, and it didn't like it, and the money shows. And this is a bomb. Like Captain America: Brave New World is more of a flop than a bomb. It still made a little extra money this week. It's still making a little extra money. It might, I don't think it will, but it might be able to creep over the hump to get to the 420. It needs to generally break even. But even if it doesn't, it lost at most $15 million. A flop. I think that is and honestly, well, enough audience members liked it to I think effectively call that a flop. Okay. But Disney, this is a disaster. You're in your second week. You're not even at 200 million yet. You didn't open strong. Your word of mouth isn't that good. You're down to 41%. And this is a bomb. Now, again, we've talked about, and we talked mostly last week about why this film either wasn't or now isn't going to succeed. And to reiterate, why isn't it going to succeed? There was the drama behind the film, if you will, the people's, let's call it their BS opinions on Rachel Zegler, a little bit of Gal Gadot, and I don't mean the movie, I meant the opinions on the people. And honestly, the opinions of the people on Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot from these people who are hating on them are really stupid, in my opinion. Yeah, they said some things maybe they shouldn't, but it's not like they're saying, hey, Hitler was right. They're not saying that. Gal Gadot has a great personality. Rachel Zegler, I feel, is trying too hard. I said last week, she's young. She just needs to learn to be a bit more tactful during her interviews, and that's true, and I still stand by that. But she's also got that young kid energy or young woman energy of, you know what? I'm 35. I can call her a kid. She's, I think, only like 20-something, early 20s. So anyway, she's got that energy of someone thinking they're a bit cooler than they are. I think that is what it is. And so, like, when I saw that clip where she goes, hey, you make a cut. It's Hollywood, baby. Like, you're not as cool as you think you are to pull that off. If anything, cringe comes to mind. It's like people say, no, don't use cringe. It's like, well, cringe is a word. We're allowed to use cringe. I can cringe all I want if I want to. So F anyone who has a problem with cringe. And yeah, it was kind of cringe. And the whole stalker, creepy, like that literally makes my skin crawl just because of like the what's the best way to put it? The mentality and the Valley Girl energy. Like, ugh. Like she comes off as someone who thinks she's a lot more entertaining than she is as a person. I think that's what it is. It's not even anything she says is inherently wrong. Like, yeah, if you really think about it, what she said is true. Yeah, that's kind of creepy. The guy just finding a woman in the forest and just waking her up, great. That's creepy. The original being kind of scary. That's creepy. Or not creepy. That's true. Like, so a lot of what she says is true. It's just, I think it's the way she said it that just turned people off. And like I said, the movie actually kind of improved on a couple of those points from the original story, surprisingly. So anyway, the personal issues with her aside, I think it got like the reshoots and like the drama and stuff like that of the production. I think there was some problems with the production, if I remember correctly. So they had to reshoot a couple bit and add some more money onto the budget. But one thing that I also think, one thing I think also plays a factor that someone I think brought up. I gotta stop saying I think, but I'm trying to recollect. I saw someone say this in the comments. I think either for the review or my out of the theater reaction. The Snow White property is not as beloved as I think Disney remembers it as. Yes, it is arguably the original OG animated film from Disney, or one of them. It's like in the 2 or 3 of them. I want to say it's the original one though. So it's got the pedigree, sure. It's got the legacy, sure. But Snow White, first off, Snow White is not a Disney exclusive property. We've had many different Snow White stories that have existed long. In fact, you know, I may have the extra. Let's actually look up Snow White here. Snow White. How many versions of Snow White can I find just on Box Office Mojo? Let's find out. We got this version of Snow White, The Huntsman and Huntsman's Winter War, which is technically a Snow White film. We have Snow White from 2025. Blanc-Neige. What? What is this? Is this a version of Snow White? A twist on the Snow White fairy tale set in 1920s Tel Aviv and centered on. Okay, a bullfight. Interesting. I give credit. You have Snow White 2024. Was this the one that came out in response to the bullshit that happened? No, looking for love on a dating app. Iman falls for romantic Iman met online. She hides her dwarfism using a filter. Oh, okay. Very odd, but okay. White as Snow. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, 1937. White as Snow again, except this is a different one. This a thriller. White as Snow. Mr. Snow White. Bianca de Neve. The Snow White. Snow White the sequel. Mirror Mirror. Happily Ever After has Snow White in there. The Snow White Syndrome. Snow White the Mysterious. This is just all the Snow Whites I can find here. I'm sure there's that's over a dozen different versions of Snow White, and none of them. Think about this for a second. Let's look at a couple of these. Snow White and the Huntsman. How much did that make? Make $396 million. That did well for itself. Even against a 170 budget, that did well enough to get a sequel that didn't do as well. The sequel, I don't even think made $200 million. No, it made $164 million. It was also made on a lot less. Let's see here. Snow White in Russian Red. Okay, but 2.5. What was it? Mirror Mirror is one of the more bigger. 183. Okay. The Snow White. Not even, like, dear God. And that didn't crack $500,000. Mr. Snow White, like, point being, Snow White, a drama, not even, like, there's so many versions of it, but Snow White has never been a blockbuster property. Let's actually look at the original Snow White real quick. Where are you? Where are you? Where'd you go? Seriously, where did it go? 1937. There it is. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. 184 million in its entire lifetime. That's including re-releases. They factor re-releases in on the actual release. For its overall total. So it's never been a blockbuster property. It's never been one. And like putting $200 and some odd million behind it was just asinine. It was just stupid. And look, I love Big Papa Iger. I love Bob Iger. I think he's the right guy to be running the ship. Obviously, he wants to retire again. So whenever they find, and he's had to correct a lot of the problems Chapek did. So look, but even I have to admit, like, he should not have greenlit this movie on $200+ million. I mean, granted, it was made on more because of reshoots, but he shouldn't have greenlit the movie on that budget. Now, I'm not saying it still shouldn't have been maybe like $100 million movie or something like that, but it's still, Disney does. One of the problems with Disney, and I do like Disney as a movie entertainment company, at least in that sense. Other issues aside with Disney, I do like the products they make out when it comes to film. The problem is that they've always had a problem with overspending. They're Disney. We can spend whatever we want. Yeah, but when you spend that or a bullshit amount on Haunted Mansion, you're not getting your money back. And so I think the fact is, Snow White just isn't beloved as a Disney property. It's just not. At least not in the context of making money in a movie, or at least not in the context of like a blockbuster movie. You could have maybe done a smaller $50 million version of it. It wouldn't have looked like this, but you done 50 to 100 million at most. Maybe this could have recouped some of its money. But as it stands, this thing's going to lose a lot. Now, this does not mean that all Disney remakes are going to suck. Because, I mean, I maybe one day I'll do a list. Let me know if you want a list of the Disney remakes ranked. But look, let's be honest. Lilo and Stitch looks really good. Like it looks legitimately solid. So we'll have to wait and see. The Chosen, Last Supper. Okay, this one I was surprised about. A, I forgot it was coming out, but B, made almost 12 million, and it's a re-release of 2 episodes. Like that's impressive. That tells you, and it was just a Fathom it, which tells you A, popular show. B, this topic does still have its audience as well. Now, the one thing I will say, is that I think they maybe lost a opportunity here by releasing it closer to Easter, but it does show that there is value in it for the movie theaters. Then we get into the 2 other releases here. Now, The Woman in the Yard debuts at $9.45 million. My review for that is up. You can watch that with spoilers, or you can just watch my out of the theater reaction, which legit, I am shocked how many people wanted to get in and talk about that. And how many people didn't like the movie, but that's the highest viewed review I've ever done at right now 4,700 plus grand. So look, whether we agree or disagree, thank you for the views. Legitimately, thank you. But look, 9.4, and a movie is only made, Blumhouse doing what it's supposed to be doing, on $12 million. It's only made on that. So this film probably only has 20 million in marketing. So if the film somehow manages, and we don't have an international number right now, this film, unfortunately, at only 9.4 million and not the best reviews on either side of the fence, critical or audience, is probably not going to do well. Which begs the question: what's happened to Blumhouse within the last couple of films? Let me get a list of Blumhouse here real quick. Blumhouse. Let's see, Blumhouse Productions. All right. So let's actually take a look real quick here at the last couple of films that Blumhouse did. If we can actually get Blumhouse Productions. Let me see. List of films they've. Do I have a list of films they've done? List of Blumhouse production projects. Okay. So they did Prey. Oh no, it's a different Prey. I'm like, what? But yeah, let's see here. Within the last few years, Fantasy Island, which wasn't great, but whatever. The Invisible Man, which huge win. I don't think anyone can argue that. Hunt, I'm not familiar with. You Should Have Left. These seem to be smaller projects. The Lie, Black Box. I'm not familiar with that one too. We're looking at more the wide release ones. Freaky, which I believe was that. Yeah, that actually got a good reception. The Purge series, I think is like an anomaly. It makes money and people seem to like them enough. This Is the Night. Not familiar with that one. Black as Hell, The Manor, Halloween Kills. The Halloween films still did well enough financially. They started to dip in quality. Paranormal Activity always seems to make money. And their key to success here, the secret to success is even when films fail, they're made on such low budgets that the amount they make on their successes, like The Black Phone, which, hold on, seeing as I've got this up here, let's just take a look at Black Phone real quick here. Oh crap, I hit the ad for the Amazon. Go away, Amazon. I don't care about you. No one does except the people who use the service, which is sadly a lot. But whatever. I don't really care about. I don't hate Amazon. I just don't care about them. Let's see. Black Phone. All right. Black Phone. What did Black Phone make? Okay. So and they're making a sequel to this. $161 million against, if I remember correctly, something along the lines of like a $10-ish million budget. This thing was made bank. Let's see, they, them. I don't remember that at all. The Visitor, though, I believe. Nope, that's a different one. I'm thinking The Visit. Halloween Ends. Run, Sweetheart, Run. Soft and Quiet Nanny. Megan, though, made bank as well. See, a lot of these are actually films that don't normally show up in like in wide release in the big screen. Insidious Red Door made a lot of freaking money. The Passenger, don't recall that one. Total Killer, Exorcist Believer, that one made a decent amount of money. And then Five Nights at Freddy's made. You want to talk about? Hold on, we got to talk about it. Because Five Nights at Freddy's, I know for a fact, has made like less than $10 million on Five Nights. All right, Five Nights at Freddy's, and we got a sequel coming this year. So yeah. $291 million against less than a $10 million budget, if I remember that correctly. In fact, I'm going to get that up real quick just so I can know that for certain. The budget was $20 million. Sorry, it was $20 million. But against a $20 million budget, at best had maybe $30 million in marketing, so $50 million. It had to make $75, made nearly $300 million. And that was with a day-and-date release. Probably would have cracked 300 without it. So, look. And look, a lot of ones I just said, I've heard no one really complain about at all. But then we get into like the last year and a half even, and we have Night Swim, which still actually managed to make some money, but was terrible. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was my worst film of the year last year, or at least in the top 3. Night Swim was awful, just god awful. And then we had Imaginary. I would probably put Imaginary and Woman in the Yard around the same tier. A really cool concept that had some good moments in it, but is just marred by a lack of real good direction. Then you had Afraid, which commentary and AI, great. House of Spoilers, I don't even know this. Speak No Evil did all right. It was all right from everything I heard. Wolfman, I classify Wolfman quite frankly as more of just a different disappointment than an actual bad movie. It's all subjective, but whatever. And now we got The Woman in the Yard. And also we got Drop coming out in April, Megan 2.0, The Black Phone 2. In fact, all these are supposed to be coming out this year. Well, these next 5. Then Soulmate, Untitled Extras film, The Mummy, and an Insidious film. Anyway, Boogeyman Pop. What? Oh God, what the hell? Do I want to know? Anyway, the point is that something's kind of happened in the last year or so with Blumhouse, where the quality has dipped, and unfortunately, it's their biggest releases are now kind of back to back a little bit. So it's similar to the Marvel thing, where Marvel can survive a couple bad projects or lackluster projects because the next one usually makes up for it. But in this case, they're not as big as Marvel. First off, they don't have that built in of trust. But I don't know, something's kind of happened with the quality. And someone kind of said that modern horror is a stain on the genre. Again, I just pointed out a bunch of films within the last 2-3 years alone, or 1 or 2 years, where that was all modern horror, and a lot of those are really well-liked films. Plus, without including, you got Don't Breathe, you got Get Out, you got Lights Out. And then you can go into more something like Us, which I wasn't a huge fan of Us. I liked Nope a lot, but the point being, and those are just the stuff I got off the top of my head there. Oh, don't forget Smile. Like, even though it's the human, like, yeah, it's still kind of representing that. The Smile films people love the Smile films. So I don't agree, and I would actually say, I'm going to flat out say, I think you're wrong when you say it's a stain on the modern horror genre. But again, if you're not a fan of them, that's fine. I always just caution people to using definitive statements, because nothing's definitive in the subjective matter. But yeah, if we're just looking at, say, the last, like Night Swim, Imaginary, Wolfman, and this, not including something like, say, See No Evil, yeah, there does definitely be a dip in the quality, doesn't it? Like, they're trying to tell more human stories, I guess. And that's fine, but sometimes we just want a creepy monster or supernatural horror film. It doesn't have to be a reflection of society or the human condition. I do agree on that point. Now, don't get me wrong. When we get to the spoilers, I'm not, and I talk about it in my review, so go watch that. I'm not saying I hated the idea of what they were doing in the movie. It's the execution that's the problem. And that's really what it comes down. Honestly, that is really all this film comes down to, is execution. I want to say, like, the first half of the film is actually executed pretty well. And then the second half of the film kind of is just a mess. So yeah, I don't know. I still lean on the fence as someone who liked it, but I don't think it's making its money back, even only on $12 million, sadly, because you still got to factor in the marketing budget, and then the studio gets a cut, and the theater gets a cut, usually on average about a third. So the movie has to make, roughly speaking, in the neighborhood of about $48 million. So if it can make 50, if somehow it makes 50, it's good. Death of Unicorn, $5.7 million. Right now we don't have any international numbers for this either. This is only a little bit more expensive than Woman in the Yard at $15 million. Unfortunately, that's not even enough to warrant a $15 million budget, which sucks. I do think it's the best of the three films that came out. It was probably the most fun I had. And I still got to watch Jason Statham beat up people. So, yeah, but this is just a wacky, fun kind of B creature feature movie involving killer unicorns. And you know what? I was here for it. I'm also not surprised, though, it opened this low. I don't know how many people were really interested in this film, if I'm going to be honest. But hey, look, at least it's a fun alternative to other films out there right now. Princess Mononoke re-released with 4K restoration. Ooh, $4 million, no, a little over $4 million. Good for it. I wonder what the overall Princess Mononoke. I've got it right here. It should probably just be going off there and trying to think. A lot of ono. Mononoke. Okay. Whoopsie. Well, all right. What's Princess Mononoke actually currently made? 174 in its long history. That's not bad, especially because it's probably not made anywhere near on that much. Then Captain America made an extra $2.8 million this week. 405. Might as well round up to $6 million. I don't think it's hitting the 420. It still needs to make, roughly speaking, $14 million. I just don't think it has that left. But look, any money it makes at this point is getting it closer and closer to at least being a broken even film. So, who knows? Maybe there's an extra market that can just bump it up. It's unfortunate. I like the film enough that, I don't hate any MCU film. I don't flat out hate any MCU film. There are the weaker ones. Hell, I even sat through Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania two times. And my least favorite movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is actually Captain Marvel, because I just don't like the character. That's not a Brie Larson thing. That's a character thing. She's better in the Marvels. She is better there. But, yeah, I'm just not a fan of the character. I wasn't a fan of the character in the comics either, if I'm going to be honest. So, well, I don't know. Maybe it can luck out, but it's pretty done as we're starting to roll towards the actual summer movie season. We got the big, epic, going to be $1 trillion film Minecraft coming out, so we'll see what that does. Black Bag made our $2.1 million, $31 million. It's still not going to be making its money back. This film's really not one of those films that stands a good chance of doing that, but it's creeping along. Mickey 17, $1.9 million as well, 121. You want to talk about that film that lost money. Right now, as it stands right now in this year, there's been a lot of financial losses for films this year. Captain America is at best going to break even. Snow White's going to be losing a lot of effing money. Wolfman lost money, which you would have thought that should have made money. If we're looking at the overall films this year, and I've already said my piece about why I'm not including Ninja 2 in this, as far as I'm concerned, Captain America: Brave New World is the #1 film of the year right now. But if we really look at the film, Snow White's losing money. Dogman did make money, and I'm imagining Bridget Jones did too. Mickey 17 lost money. The Monkey made a little bit of money. Pantera, Denethys Pantera lost money. One of them days made a little bit of money. Flight Risk lost money. Companion lost money. Like right now, it's a lot of losses right now. Fortunately, we're not even into the big stuff yet. We're not into the big money makers yet. Captain America could have been one, and so could have Paddington, but Paddington is not part of 2024 due to releasing early in England. Or overseas, anyway. Then we got Novocaine making their $1.4 million, 27.8. I mean, the film's only made in 18, but that's not enough. By the way, there is a channel. I don't know why. I know why it's come up because I'm looking at the numbers and I talk the numbers and I'm looking at there's a channel that will talks about like what actors made on their movies, like what the salary was. And I'm watching, I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. But I'm looking at the numbers, and he's got like bomb, flop, average, hit, blockbuster. And looking at the numbers, like for some films, like a film made on like a $6 million budget making 9, they say average. And I'm like, you clearly don't understand, or a film that is made on 50 making 60 and calling it average. You clearly don't understand how movies work because you're not including a marketing budget with that. So, and then you're not including the cut the theater takes. So this is why I do that. This is why I like doing the box office, because I try to look at it from a mathematical standpoint as best I can. The Penguin Liaison Lessons 1.2. What the hell is the Penguin Lessons? What is this? Starring Oscar nominee Steve Coogan. This poignant drama from director Peter Cantillo follows an Englishman's personal and political awakening for he adopts a penguin during a cataclysmic period in Argentina history. What are you? Anyway, Alto Knights made 1.1 million. It dropped 65 million, going to be losing a lot of money, and still didn't drop as low as Snow White did. Everything else here is pretty minor. Lion King is done its run, but Mufasa, maybe it cracks the 720 marker. Maybe it does that, but I'm not holding my breath on it. Either way, it's a weirdly, as weird as it is a better week at the box office than last week was. Now then, because this is a Fadden event, I'm not going to include The Chosen in my prediction for next week, but maybe I'm wrong. In fact, actually, let me look at this real quick to be sure. Next week, do we have The Chosen? Because this is like episodes 1 and 2, or 3 and 4 are going to be showing up next week. Yes, they are. Okay, hold. All right, we also have The Friend, the Paul Rudd film. Wake Up, Luckiest Man in America. Neither of those I think are going to be in like the top 5. And obviously Minecraft. Okay, I do feel comfortable enough to say Minecraft is going to be #1. It's probably not making a lot, but it's going to be #1. At best, I think it'll be like in the low 30s. And that's at best. I actually think we're probably looking at 20s to maybe even high teens. But anyway, Minecraft. Then The Chosen, episodes 2, episode 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so they got 3. So Chosen episodes, and that will probably do even better because we're now closer to Easter. So if you literally just, when is Easter this year? Because I know it's late. Let's see here, and my calendar, I just realized doesn't actually show the holidays. I'm guessing it's the 20th. Either way, if you just bumped everything up a week, it probably would have made you a lot more money that way. But yeah, so I'm going to go Minecraft, The Chosen. I'm going to go Working Man, Snow White, and then The Friend. It's going to be a weird looking box office this week. We'll see what happens with it, though. Anyway, that's my predictions. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.